Spotted Salamander awoke. She had been sleeping for months. She hadn't eaten for months. Her feet and legs were beginning to warm. Her body was beginning to warm. She stretched her toes and stretched her tail. This is the first time she's moved in a long time. The late winter and early spring air was warming all around her. The days were getting warmer and longer. This is the fourth winter that she's passed through, and she's ready to travel to the vernal pool. That evening she emerged from her winter home. She crept out from under the rotten log and out into the forest. It was raining, a soft, gentle rain, and the air was chilly, but just warm enough to keep her moving. She traveled across the landscape, and as she passed certain landmarks, she recalled passing them years before. This was the rock that she always walked by, with a little cliffside to it. And she traveled further until she came upon the tree with the moss all around its base, and the spot that looked like a little bit of a cave. Once she had hidden there from a raccoon. She carried on further, remembering that there were other animals that would like to eat her, and she took her time, and she was cautious, and she was careful. As dawn began to break, she looked for a place to shelter, to keep herself safe from the sun's rays. Spotted Salamander has wet skin. It's dark, almost purple, almost black, with yellow spots. And that skin helps her breathe, but it needs to stay wet. That evening she emerged again when the sun went down. The rain picked back up, and as she traveled, something changed with the weather. It became cold. She could feel her body start to stiffen. She didn't have the energy she had once before, and she began to slow down just as big, fat, white snowflakes began to fall, and they came steady, one after another, over and over. Spotted Salamander realized she needed to find shelter. There was a snowstorm coming. She looked and looked and looked until she found the perfect log to shelter under. She climbed under the log and burrowed into the leaf litter that surrounded the log to keep herself safe. The snow fell hard all through the night and into the next day. It covered the landscape and buried Spotted Salamander. She had to stay put to keep herself safe. Days went by as Spotted Salamander slept and awakened, following the cycles of the warming earth and the cooling nights, until finally, water from melting snow dripped into her shelter. She realized that the earth was warming again, and it was comfortable for her to move. She began to climb out of her storm shelter. As she walked across the landscape, she passed patches of snow and patches of earth, patches of soil and patches of leaves. She climbed over sticks and under logs and across rocks and into piles of lichen and moss. She was working hard to make it to her vernal pool. She was intent to lay eggs and complete her life cycle. Spotted Salamander moved very, very cautiously towards the wetland. She knew there were animals that hunted there. There were birds that hunted there, and she wanted to be safe. She traveled from leaf to leaf, underneath log, and found shelter when she needed it, and crossed open patches when she could. Spotted Salamander reached the edge of the vernal pool. She's come here every year in the spring, and this is her 4th year coming here. She slipped into the cool water and swam about with her tail, looking for the perfect place to lay her eggs. She found a stick and laid her eggs there. When she finished laying eggs, she crawled out of the water, and on the perfect night, she made the long journey back to her forest home for the summer, where she could hunt for insects and worms and beetle grubs, where she could be safe from the sun, where the air was cool and moist, and the forest was clean and pure. Have you ever had to take shelter to keep yourself safe? Have there been times in your life where you've had to protect yourself and protect your family and friends? What did you do? What was that like? Were you able to be patient like Spotted Salamander?